Good morning.
Good morning.
What is your name? Where are you from? And why are you here?
Well, my name is Kathy Boylan. I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. I live at the Dorothy Day Catholic Worker in Washington, D.C. And I've come because today is the 74th anniversary. We commemorate what Pope Paul VI condemned, the bombing of Hiroshima. He described it as a butchery of untold magnitude, and truly that's what it was, a butchery of untold magnitude. And I once heard Daniel Berrigan say, in quoting the Isaiah scripture, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. They will study war never again." And then Dan said, "And who are these they who are going to show up to do all of this work?" It must be us, because we live in a time where all of humanity can be destroyed by the weapons that humanity has created with our ingenuity, our hands, our labor. We have just put in place the end of all life on earth. And we are the people who can say we must take these weapons apart. So I'm here especially because and on April 4th, 2018, 7 friends, the Kings Bay Plowshares, came to Kings Bay to enact, to enflesh that Isaiah appeal of God, that dream of God, that we all should beat our swords into plowshares. That's what they did on April 4th, and 3 are still in jail awaiting trial, and 4 are here, and we go to court with them tomorrow to stand in prayerful opposition and nonviolent resistance to the empire in whose court we will be, to say it's not in our name, not with our money. We call on people to refuse to pay the taxes that would go to building these weapons. We remember Bishop Hunthausen, Raymond Hunthausen from Seattle, Washington, who in the 80s, knowing that he in his diocese was the Trident submarine base of the Pacific Ocean, he called on his diocese, the people of the diocese, to refuse to pay. And he did. He refused to pay 50% of his taxes because he said he did not want to pay for the Auschwitz of Puget Sound, which were the nuclear weapons. That really, when you think about it, we are all of humanity is in a concentration camp. And the gas chambers that these are the weapons. The weapons have become the gases that will destroy us all unless we break out of these concentration camps and build a new world free of these weapons. So that's what I think we're all doing. We're trying to do, and with God's help, we will succeed. We will be. God's will win, and we hope we are joining God in this work. And beyond that, I had a dream before I participated in Plowshares. And the dream was that Jesus was on top of a submarine. I didn't know what submarine it was. And he was hammering on the submarine. That's the work he would do. He would take these things apart. These are like the chains that held slaves. We would, if we saw people enslaved, we would have hammered on those slaves' chains. These chains, the chains of nuclear weapons, are enslaving all of us. So we have to break the chains.
Kathy, would you share with us your knowledge and participation in the history of the Plowshares movement?
Oh, well, I have been totally inspired by those wonderful people who began the Plowshares movement. And I think Molly Rush was the one who first said, well, we are like following Isaiah chapter 2. So it's the Plowshares movement. That's, I think, how it came about, Molly Rush's inspiration to do this action. But the name of it became Plowshares because of the inspiration of Molly Rush. And Art and Dan and Phil and Elmer and Ann Montgomery and Dean Hammer and John Schuchard And in 1989, I joined my first Plowshares community, and we decided that we would, some of us, there were, I forget, seven of us, and three women, Ann Montgomery, Jackie Allen, and Kathy Boylan, swam on the Thames River to the Trident submarine that had been transferred from the company that makes them, electric boat, over to the Navy. So it was on the Navy side. The Navy had already taken possession of this Trident submarine.
And it's the Thames River in Connecticut.
In Connecticut, that's right. So we swam there. And so I did that, and I have been able to participate in 5 Plowshares actions. And so anyway, it is the work, I think, of, I'm a mother, a grandmother. I once saw a poster, a beautiful poster of a mother. It touched me because I was a young mother at the time. She was pushing her baby in a carriage through a beautiful park, but pointing upward under the grass were all of these nuclear bombs, nuclear missiles. But she was unaware of what was around her, and I decided I wanted to be aware of the things that were threatening my children, the children of the world, all of creation. So I guess you might say I've dedicated my life to trying to be aware and a resistor to all things that bring death. That's it.
Kathy, can you speak of Isaiah? Of course, we know Isaiah comes from the Jewish Bible,
Yes.
and which Catholics would call the Old Testament.
Yes.
Is there a faith tradition that you come from that inspired you or not?
Oh yes, well, I'm a Catholic. I went to kindergarten through college to Catholic schools. I went to Mass with my family every day, 6:30 Mass when I was a child, until I grew up and left home. So I am definitely a member of the Catholic community, and I'm so proud to be associated with the Grady's and the Berrigans and all the great saints, and Franz Jagerstetter, and all the people who from the Catholic faith determined that they would not participate in war making. So Jesus, who we say is the way, the truth, and the life, we know that Jesus has commanded us to love one another and to follow the old commandments called "Thou shalt not kill." And war is about breaking 2 commandments. I say to the people who work at the Pentagon, war is about breaking the commandment not to steal, because our intention in war making is to steal the resources of whatever country we go to war against, and kill to allow ourselves to steal so that the big corporations become more and more wealthy. And beyond that, we're not supposed to lie, and all war is a lie, and they tell lies all the time to lead the people to war. So I think I'm firmly planted in the way. Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. That I am firmly planted, I hope, in the way of Jesus, which is nonviolent resistance. And did Jesus resist? Of course he resisted. He overthrew the money changers' tables in the temple. And I always used to say to kids, listen, Jesus, it wasn't because Jesus didn't like bingo in church. It was because the money was going to the Roman occupying military empire that had taken over. More than 100 years before Jesus was born, the Romans were occupying Palestine. And Jesus did that very nonviolent but very risky action of overthrowing the money changers' tables, which led the high priests of his day to arrange for his execution, because they had made an alliance with the Romans, the occupiers. And I'd ask the church today, have you made an alliance with the very violent United States empire? Are you serving the empire, or are you serving Jesus and Jesus' way of nonviolence and resistance? So there's another from the bishops, the Synod of Bishops of 1971, Justice in the World says, action on behalf of justice is constitutive of preaching the gospel. In other words, we must be doing things like our friends have done and are in prison for. We must be vigilant here and all the places of death dealing, death making. We must call all the children out of the military, all the soldiers to put down their weapons. And we should also call on everyone to refuse to pay taxes for war, just like Bishop Hunthausen did.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
All right. Okay. All right.